Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'll be reading about the R33, the Nissan Skyline R33. In the last video I talked about the R32 and in the next video I'll be talking about the R34. So the Nissan Skyline R33 was built between 1993 and 1998. 217,133 units were sold. The R33 Skyline was introduced in August 1993, slightly heavier than the R32. It was available in a coupe and sedan body configurations. The R33 was the safest of the models with a rating of 3.8 out of 5.5 accordingly. The airbag system and internal crash bars made this vehicle significantly safer than previous models. All models now use a 6-cylinder engine. Nissan took the unusual step of downgrading the GTS model to have the only RB20E, while the twin cam of the R32 GTS was discontinued. The 2-litre turbo RB20DET GTS-T was also discontinued and was replaced with the GTS-T 25T, which was equipped with a larger RB25DET and featured high cast as standard in all GTS-T 25T submodels except the Type G. Some models came equipped with a new version of the high-cast 4-wheel steering system, also called Super High-Cast. This computer control system was first to use an R32 GTR. Super High-Cast used electronic actuators to steer the rear as opposed to hydraulic high-cast. This generation was no longer considered a compact under Japanese legislation that determined the amount of tax liability based on exterior dimensions. As an option, an active limited slip differential was available instead of a slanted viscous LSD. This new unit locked the rear differentials if it detected that traction was lost by one of its wheels. A light on the dash also lit up if the LSD engaged. Active LSD came standard on all V-spec R33 GTR Skylines and was also available on some EC-R33 and GTS 25 models. These can be identified by ALSD and slip lights on the tachometer. The RB25DE and RB25DET engine also became equipped with the NVCS variable inlet cam phasing. NVCS equipped RB series engine have a bulge on the front of the cam cover. To celebrate their 40th anniversary, Nissan introduced a very rare 4-door GTR. Two versions of the 4-door GTR were available from Nissan subsidiaries. The first was produced by Otec and the second was a joint Otec-Nismo project. A Nissan Laurel C34 based wagon was released in September 1996 called the Stagia. It is widely regarded as a compatriot of the Skyline rather than the Laurel it was based on, owing to drivetrain configuration commonly all-wheel drive using a Tesla ETS. A common modification of Stagia is to fit it with an R34 Skyline front, in effect making an R34 look-alike wagon. A manual transmission was also available on the RS4S and 260RS models. There was also an Otec-tuned Stagia. The 260RS released with the full GTR running gear including an RB26 DETT engine and the manual transmission and unibody K17 BBS style alloys and GTR instrumentation. The R33 Skyline Spec 2 continued the concepts introducing the R32. Driver and passenger airbags became standard in 1996. As a result, pre-96 models are barred from being imported into various countries for consumer road use as they do not meet their frontal impact standards. However, in the US, there are federal laws regarding safety and emissions that require certain documents to be obtained, certain criteria to be met and adhered to, or 25 years to pass before the sale of the vehicle becomes illegal. For the RB25DET engine, the ignition system was also changed, with the ignition module no longer located on the cam covers and was instead replaced by smart ignition coils, igniter built into coil and ECU. The RB25DET's turbo was also given a nylon compressor wheel to improve response. Throughout the time the R33 was produced, there were a quite number of different style lights and body kits fitted. The actual body chassis underwent no changes. Among the cosmetic changes in the Spec 2 were the headlights, which tapered down more towards the grille and were fitted with improved reflectors, the grille, which was longer on the Spec 1, the hood, which had a reshaped leading edge to fit the new lights, and front bumper changing shape in the smallest amount to match the lower edge of the new headlights. Later models of the Spec 2 also had the option of having an active LSD fitted. The R33 ceased production in February 1998 with the 40th anniversary R33. The previous R32 model was a well-proven build, but the R32 wasn't without faults and suffered with uplift and balance issues. Along with that, Nissan was, as other Japanese companies were, under strict restrictions on power gains. So Nissan had to combat all of these areas, so the sophisticated strength program was made. Nissan increased the width by about 1 inch on the R33 to the R32 and made it about 4 inches longer. This gave the R33 a long wheelbase overall and a lower stance mixed. With new technology now from the computer aerodynamic age, each line of the R33 was intended to give the car ultimate aerodynamics with wider gaps in the bumper and angles of air movement which allowed better cooling. In addition to the fuel tank lifted, the battery moved to the trunk. Rigidity points were added, mixed with improvements on the Atessa and Hi-Class, all now offered the R33 with the best aerodynamics, balance and handling. Nissan engineers also found other ways to reduce weight even by a few grams. This includes hollowing out the side door beams, using high tensile steel on body panels, reduction in sound deadening material, super high-class becoming electronic, hollowing out of the rear stabilizer bar, the use of high tensile springs front and rear, shrinking the ABS actuator, light aluminium wheels and high rigidity. The front and rear axles were made of aluminium as in the BNR 32, but so were the engine mount insulators and brackets. New plastics were used for fuel tank, headlamps, super high strength PP bumpers, air cleaner, changing the headline material, changing material of the rear spoiler. All this put together meant we saw an improvement time against the R32 up 21 seconds faster around the Nürburgring and 23 seconds faster in the V-Spec trim, still making the R33 the fastest Skyline on Nürburgring. The BSN R33 GTR version also had the same RB26 DETT engine that the BNR 32 was equipped with, although torque had been improved due to changes in the turbo compressor aerodynamics, turbo dump pipe and intercooler. The turbo core changed from a sleeve bearing to a ball bearing, but the turbine itself remained ceramic except on the N1 turbo steel turbine sleeve bearings. From the R33 onward, the old GTRs received Brembo brakes. In 95, the GTR received an improvement version of the RB26 DETT, the Atessa ETS 4-wheel drive system and super high-class 4-wheel steering. A limited edition model was created in 96 called the Nismo 400R that produced 400 horsepower from a road-tuned version of the Nissan's Le Mans engine. A stronger 6-speed Getrag gearbox was used. An R33 GTR driven by Dirk Scheusman lapped the Notch Cliff in less than 8 minutes. The Skyline GTR 33 was reported to be the first production car to break 8 minutes at 7 minutes and 59 seconds. Other manufacturers had caught up since the R32 was released, and the R33 never dominated motorsport to the extent of the R32. The R33 saw victory in the JGTC GT500, dominating the class and taking victory each year until its final racing year, in which it was finally beaten by the McLaren F1 GTR. The R33 saw a huge favour in the tuning world, and it being a popular model on the Wangan and top tuning companies building a heavily tuned version from Top Secret ran by Smokey, Nagata to Jun, etc., and later by companies like Sumo. HKS GTR would hold the drag series record for several years in their drag racing, making a record win of 7.671 seconds passed at Sendai Highland Raceway, with Tetsuya Kawasaki behind the wheel and taking it to the world's fastest all-wheel drive car. So that's a brief history of the R33 Skyline or Nissan Skyline R33, and in the next video I'll be talking about the R34. In the previous video I talked about the R32. Please tune in for the next video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.